Hello everybody, this is Squallcasting bringing you another game of StarCraft 2. In this match, we have Mouse Thorzain playing against TSL Hyun. Now a bit about these two players. Thorzain is of course a Swedish player. He is known as the Spoon Terran because of his very patient, methodical style in which he defeats the enemy as slowly as possible. And he was fairly unknown until the TSL3, which he won. And since then, he's been better known. And down here we have Hyun. I casted one of his games earlier. I looked him up, found out a bit about him. He was a pro gamer in Brood War. And in November 2011 decided to switch to StarCraft 2. And within a month got to the Masters League, so definitely adapting to the new game and the new systems very quickly. He did get up to the Code A in the GSL, but did get knocked down to Code B, but still. Not too shabby getting to Code A that quickly after starting the new game. So, we'll see what happens here. Additionally, this replay is from the Go4 SC2 194 tournament. So thank you to them for providing this replay to the community. So Thorzain throwing down his barracks first, not going to do any sort of command center first shenaniganry. Hyun scouting up to the top left position first, not going to find his opponent there, and throwing down his hatchery before the pool. So Hyun opting for the economic opening. Thorzain, we'll see what he does. He is indeed throwing down a gas, so not going to go for the 1 Rax gasless expand. A gas this early, honestly, it could mean so many different things. Terrans have so many openings they can choose from. He could move from this into Banshees. He could move from this into a, some sort of stim timing with, a big bio push. Who knows? He's only built the 1 barracks, though. He is throwing his orbital up now, and he is letting his mineral stockpile. So it could be he just wanted to get the gas a little bit earlier and then expand. We will see, though. He's pulling the barracks back for now. Not sure why. Maybe he just wanted to have an initial wall, just in case some sort of attack came. Who knows? Anyway, the Marine repelling the drone, and he has dropped his minerals to build a command center. Oh, okay, so he's building the barracks there first, and now going to build the command center there. I think that's a full wall. Yeah, probably. So, an interesting way to expand while also keeping himself safe. Hyun's hatchery is finishing up now, and he is producing a handful of Zerglings. Probably just to poke at the front, check about, keep Thorzain honest. Thorzain is mining that gas, throwing down a factory now. So, very interesting. Hasn't gone to tech lab or anything like that in the barracks. Has not continuing to produce Marines. Although that's probably because he's supply blocked. So if I had to hazard a guess, I'm going to guess a Banshee opening. I don't know. I haven't casted that many Terran versus Zerg. And yeah, I'm pushing forward with a bunch of links, and since Thorzain only has that 1 Marine, he's going to have to be on the defensive and do a tiny bit of repairing action if Hyun decides to commit in and attack. But that said, this many Zerglings, they're not going to be able to break down that wall. Unless Thorzain lifts this up at the worst possible moment. I don't think he will, though. I think he's going to be just fine. And, okay. Reactor on the barracks, so Reactor, Hellion. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah, and he's positioned a factory overhead. So not a Banshee opener. I guess I'm wrong. And Thorzain throwing down another command center already. Wow. So very much wants to get his economy rolling, get as many bases as possible. And starting to double produce those Hellions. So, and I suppose this is a bit more standard versus Zerg these days. Just because Hellions are so good for getting map control. They can repel links so well. They can, poke up the front, deny creep tumor spread, kill creep tumors, potentially get some drone kills. Although most Zergs have figured out how to handle it. And Hyun throwing out a macro hatch in a position that will prevent Hellions from getting up that ramp as quickly. So an interesting decision by him. Not a bad one. Definitely has a sense that these Hellions are coming, so just getting prepared for it. So he should be completely fine. And that Hellion running in there, taking a lot of damage from this Queen before running on home. There are a bunch of links just positioned up here, so if they run it at a good time, they could deal a bit of damage before Thorzain can respond, and he doesn't seem to know about those. He is cycling this Hellion back, probably to repair it. which is fantastic. I love units being repaired. And yup. There it goes. So it does have a single kill. Not sure if that's from a drone or maybe a creep tumor. I don't know. Hyun has gotten himself quite a few queens. 2 queens that are just for spreading creep tumors at the moment. We'll probably attach one of those hatcheries once it finishes though. And that will allow him to get some pretty good unit production going. And wow, in a very defensive posture. Throwing down an Evo Chamber here, throwing down another Spine Crawler. Another Spine Crawler. Really doesn't want to lose drones to those Hellions. I feel like Hyun must have had some sort of bad experience with Reactor Hellion, because he is just as defensive as possible against it. And Thorzain is getting ahead economically. He does have those 3 command centers up. Triple muling just gives him such an economic lead. As you can see, he is well ahead of his Zerg opponent, even though the Zerg opponent has a lot more harvesters. And sending a single Hellion up there to scout, and swinging the rest on around this side. And I'm going to try to do a bit of damage. That is a lot of Hellions, and he would be able to kill those queens if Hyun stays out, but he falls back to the Spine Crawlers. Should be safe for the time being. And Thorzain not going to be crazy and try to punch on in. Just going to poke at the sides, keep Hyun contained, and all the while just keep his economy, keep getting his economy stronger and stronger. Now Hyun is getting a Baneling Nest, so that's an interesting decision. Could be he wants... Okay, those links up there got cleaned up at some point, or got suicided in, or something. I want to see if any workers were killed. Oh, no workers killed, so maybe he sent them in to scout. In any case, there's 1 Zergling left. See where it goes with that. Scanning, picking off some creep tumors, quite annoying for the Zerg. And Thorzain definitely taking a pretty commanding position in this first game. Hasn't lost any Hellions, I don't think. No, he has not lost a single Hellion. So he's just doing a great job of establishing those. Gonna get some downs on these Spine Crawlers, potentially take out some queens. Gets a queen, but gonna need to run now. So those Spine Crawlers are finishing. Or he's just gonna keep attacking. Seems to want to get that, but Hyun does get a transfuse off, and probably not the best decision by Thorzain to keep attacking there. Spine Crawlers deal with Hellions pretty darn well. He has a single Hellion and Marine working at those destructible rocks. That will take about 80 years to kill. And just starting to throw down supply depots in a wall already. Wants to be safe from Ling Renbas or anything like that. Hyun gets a beat on the rocks going down, so he probably knows that there's going to be an expansion there pretty soon. And he is working on establishing his 3rd now, so Hyun not crazily behind by any stretch of the imagination. Although he is behind in workers now, wow. So Thorzain definitely has an advantage. Hyun establishing this 3rd now, and I almost feel like he should look to establish a 4th really quick. Just because of how significant Thorzain's economy lead is right now. He has gotten a Spire, a Mutalisk Den, if you want to call it that. I almost called it that. And building 8 mutas now, and also getting Baneling speed. So definitely going for the Ling Bling Muta style. Feels a little bit more old school, to be honest. But, we'll see how well he does with that. Thorzain, on the other hand, getting tanks, getting marines, getting infantry upgrades. So just going for a biomech composition. We'll probably see siege tank researched on those tanks before too terribly long. So this, honestly, this feels like a TVZ from, I don't know, a year ago? Except that Thorzain's using Hellions. It's not just tank marine, it's also got Hellions mixed in, so definitely interesting. Thorzain does have enough marines to deal with those mutas, but they do have mobility. So he'll be able to poke in, deal damage, get away scot-free. And Thorzain will just have to be a tiny bit defensive now, starting to throw down turrets in his mineral lines. That will help keep him safe. Already got one here. So these mutas probably not going to do too terribly much damage. Could probably kill this refinery without being hit by that turret. Hyun, trying to do some dancing back and forth shenanigans. I think he lost a muta in the midst of that. Definitely not a good decision. And not managing this as well as he should. Loses another muta basically for free. So, could be Hyun just doesn't have experience with the muta bling bling style. I'm not too sure. So yeah, really not accomplishing very much at all. Thorzain just in a fantastic defensive posture. Has a bunker down there you can fill up in a pinch if need be. Getting a Thor. getting vehicle weapons, siege mode, combat shield, about to finish up. Hyun is getting an infestation pit now, so we could see him tech up to hive potentially, or just get those infestors to supplement this force. And that's quite a lot of lings and banelings, and that could really spell a lot of trouble for Thorzain's force, because those banelings are going to be effective against basically everything he has. And especially if a fungal gets off, then the banelings can get in so much more easily. But that said, Thorzain's in a pretty good defensive posture here. I don't think Hyun will be able to accomplish too terribly much, unless Thorzain just forgets to raise the depots. But I don't think that's going to happen. Now, does Thorzain have a bead on that attack? He doesn't see anything. But Hyun chooses to fall back for the time being, and Thorzain with a significant supply lead over Hyun. Hyun is taking his fourth, though. Definitely a good decision, as you never want to be on the same number of bases as a Terran or Protoss opponent when you're playing Zerg. Let's take a look at the upgrades. So we do have the pneumatized carapace. I do believe that is the Overlord drop research, or the Overlord speed, one of the two. Melee attacks, level 2, finishing up just now. But Thorzain already has 3-3 in the works, and it looks like he wants to push out. That's a pretty beefy force. And so long as he sieges and unsieges his tanks well, just slowly stepping them forward, he should be completely safe against this. We'll see, though. This is a pretty wide open area. Hyun could position for some nice flanks. But that said, Thorzain is getting those watchtowers, so he will be able to see anything coming in from the sides and react accordingly. Big siege up from the tanks, continuing to push forward. He has no medevacs, though, and all these Marines are already, they've been stemmed once or twice. Okay, here come the medevacs. Good. I was worried he was going to try to push out with no medevacs at all and then eventually lose all those Marines to, like, one Baneling. That somehow splashes across an area this large. I don't know. So Hyun does have 2-2 on his infantry units, as does Thorzain, and Thorzain does have one attack on his vehicle, so both players just kind of posturing around right now. Hyun has caught up in supply quite nicely, has a number of infestors out now, so he will be able to throw down those fungals, deal lots of damage, pin units in position. Thorzain pushing forward with a tiny force here, could definitely get picked off unless he pulls back. But he does have that watchtower, so he sees what's up, he knows what's coming. And Hyun making even more Zerglings. Now 3-3 will be finishing up in about a minute or two, and once that happens, I would not be surprised at all to see Thorzain just try to drive in really hard. Looks like he always wants to attack, though. Hyun getting in, killing a lot of Marines. He has a lot of tanks, though, but oh no, this looks terrible for Thorzain. Doing some decent Marine splitting, but his army is just getting cleaned up. Hyun getting fungals down on all of those medevacs. If he fungals again, that would be devastating. Thorzain trying to split them up. Gets another fungal down. He's going to lose all those medevacs. Unless Hyun runs away. Okay, that's very fortunate for Thorzain. And both players trading pretty equally, I would say. Thorzain definitely in a bit of a precarious position, as all he really has are these 2 tanks and a handful of Marines. He is moving some SCV forward, so might see him throw down some turrets and some bunkers, or just repair up the medevacs and the tanks. Definitely a good decision. Hyun does have Greater Spire on the way. So we will be seeing Broodlords soon, and unless Thorzain gets Vikings out in time, he could be in a lot of trouble if Hyun manages to get a lot of Broodlords out, because this composition does not deal especially well with Broodlords. Let's see though, Hyun trying to poke in, gets repelled by the siege tanks that are positioned quite nicely, and sending a handful of Lings up at the perfect time to take out this base. Wow, great game sense and timing. But that said, Thorzain is bringing back a bunch of Marines. He's going to repel that with ease with 3-3. So Thorzain now up to 4 bases, matching Hyun's 4 bases. We'll see if Hyun decides to try to expand somewhere else. Not sure where he'd really go. I mean, I guess the next logical one would be here, which is a ways, but that said, he's got pretty good creep spread. So it wouldn't be crazily risky. Thorzain is turning this one to a PF. Definitely a good decision, as that's pretty vulnerable to run-bys, as Hyun can easily swing up through here and bypass Thorzain's army. Thorzain continuing to push forward. Looks like he wants to lay siege to the 3rd. Hyun knows what's up, and he does have Ultras with this army. Wow, Ultraless Broodlord? Once he decides to make Broodlords. He doesn't have the supply to do so right now. So right now just focusing on a melee-oriented army. The Kitness How do you play this? Chitness plating, finishing up soon for those ultras. And Hyun's going for it. He's pushing on in. And that looks like way too much stuff for Thorzain. Absolutely everything getting shredded, and he needs to pull back and take a defensive posture, because Hyun killed that with basically no losses. Well played by Hyun there. Always nice to see Ultralisks used effectively. And this base gets spotted under siege, and it dies. Ooh, that's definitely bad for Hyun. And Thorzain definitely has the economy to replenish that entire army he just lost. So Hyun in a bit of trouble. But that said, he's got a pretty big force, and it looks like he might want to surge on up there and try to deal damage. And Thorzain does not yet have that much stuff. So this could be a dangerous spot for Thorzain. He does see it coming with that watchtower. The Ling's doing the longest runaround of all time to try to take out those guys. And Hyun pushing on forward, getting some fungals down. There are some siege tanks set up. We'll see how well Thorzain can deal with this. I feel like he needs to pull back behind those supply depots. Yep, raises the supply depots. This one tank on the ledge doing so much work. And Hyun needs to fall back. He's losing too much now. Can't continue pressing in from that angle. And Hyun in a bit of trouble here. Doesn't really manage to deal any significant damage to Thorzain there. And falling on back. And there we go. Taking his 5th now. Definitely a good decision. Don't want to be down on those bases too long. Now 3-3 for the melee is, or 3 attack for the melee going to finish up soon, as well as the 3 armor upgrades. So these ultras are going to be pretty terrifying if they can get into melee and, you know, smack things properly without being kited forever. Seeing some pretty epic long distance mining there. The hatchery finally finishes up, so those drones will be able to do their job without running a million miles every day. And yeah, and continue to push forward, taking the center, spreading creep absolutely everywhere. So Thorzain definitely back on the back foot a little bit. But that said, he is ahead on supply again. Let's take a look at the... Wow. And neither player really doing any economic damage to the other, just fighting with their armies. And Hyun, I don't think he wants to go into that. There's quite a few tanks there. Thorzain, though, unsieging absolutely everything to move forward. But Hyun doesn't look like he's in position to take advantage of that. Throwing down another command center, because Thorzain loves to expand 2 more command centers. I don't even know where the other one is. Okay, maybe this one's for a defensive planetary? I don't know. It's Thorzain. And yeah, so Hyun does have full upgrades on his melee units now. Thorzain does as well for his bio. And 3 attack for the mech. Wow, those tanks are obliterating absolutely everything. And Hyun hasn't made any use of this Greater Spire yet. And I would love to see him get just a few Broodlords just to mix into the army. I mean, Thorzain does have these Thors, but Thors take kind of forever to kill Broodlords, to be honest. But Hyun, though, looks like he wants to stay on this melee-oriented army. He catches a couple units out of position. And Thorzain taking a pretty dominant position in the center here is clean up all the creep tumors. But Hyun's going for it, charging up the center, throwing down so many fungal growths, ripping apart the Thors, ripping apart the tanks. Very, very nice move by Hyun there. Catching all of these medevacs. That is devastating for Thorzain. He's definitely going to be on the back foot now. So Thorzain trying to reproduce, building 5 tanks at a time. Wow. And 9 Marines. That's pretty intense. That is so many factories, my goodness. So Hyun just hanging out here for now, building a lot of banelings. Looks like he might want to try for a killing blow now. Or he's going to go up and murder this base. Yeah, so good move by Hyun rather than trying to end the game now, going for the longer game approach of sniping off expansions. We'll see if that works out. I mean, that's a lot of banelings, and they have so many upgrades. This'll definitely die. This'll definitely die. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. And all those SCVs going down as well. And Thorzain definitely on the back foot now. This base is mining decently. Doesn't yet have any gas income going on. And I feel like Hyun should probably try taking another expansion here. He does have good creep spread all the way to that side of the map, so that affords him a lot of visibility and mobility to deal with attacks in there. But Thorzain looks like he wants to push out again. And I don't know how well that's going to work against Hyun. He's been playing very well. But that's a lot of tanks. Thorzain can build so many tanks. Loves his tanks, apparently. Let's see. There's a good number of infestors there. Could throw down a lot of fungals. And, ooh, this is looking bad for Hyun. There are so many tanks there. His ultras are getting absolutely shredded. Getting some good fungals down. Throwing down some infested Terrans. But the ultras are all dying. We'll see if this gets cleaned up by the infested Terrans, though. All the ultras are down. And yeah, not doing the best engagement there. Just came from one angle. Got a bit bottlenecked on those Marines. I feel like you probably should have tried setting up a flank from here. That would have gone much better. But flooding out even more Zerglings, more ultras. Throwing a single infested Terran into there. Does get a tank from the friendly fire. And Thorzain unsieging all his tanks because he doesn't want that to happen again. That's so annoying, wow. Hyun tailing this with some infestors. Thorzain should probably scan to take those out because those are being pretty darn annoying. Maybe he just doesn't know they're there. So many Zerglings surging on down to defend this base. Looks like it was attacked a bit but did not die. Thorzain pushing forward again with tanks, sieging on up. The single spine crawler warns the Zerg swarm and then dies for its, I guess not really a country, more like a species. Dies for its species. Zerglings surging forward, taking off a whole bunch of tanks. And Thorzain, once again, kind of just losing everything, but he's still expanding. Why not? Building more tanks, building more Marines. And both players just slugging each other in the face, but not really able to finish the game either. And Thorzain moving in with the commando force here. It gets picked off, though. Fungal catches a whole bunch of Marines. They die for their species. Or for the Terran Imperium. What's it called? The Terran... It's not Imperium. Confederation, I think it is. Whatever it is. They die for their people. So Thorzain re-macroing like a boss. 5 siege tanks at a time. And yeah, I'm still just sticking with this melee infestor-oriented army. I would love for him to throw down some Broodlords, but I guess he just doesn't want to. And Thorzain gets that base away before this army can arrive and do a little damage to it. But Hyun denying Thorzain mining time for just a little bit longer. Thorzain pushing up here, sieging up tanks yet again. And Hyun goes, murders those Marines to death. And murders these Marines to death as well. Now, does he have the adrenal glands on the Zerglings? Okay, good. Oh, it's always the worst when you see a 3-3 Zerg army without that upgrade. And so many Zergs seem to forget it. But we got a big engagement here. Ultras running on in, dealing lots of damage. But Thorzain's going to be able to hold this pretty well. Because those siege tanks are hitting pretty darn hard. This expansion under siege by 2 Zerglings. Throwing down a motherload of mules and morphing this into a planetary so it can defend itself. More SCVs running in. They're just gonna kind of slowly die. Thorzain should just attack with those SCVs. Like, those are only 2 Zerglings. He could kill them. I mean, come on. The SCVs have 3 armor. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. And Hyun expanding again. Thorzain seems to know about it, though. He has a single Marine with a personal healer there. And these Zerglings being very annoying. There we go. So Thorzain's PF finishing up, and both players still just macroing like crazy, neither able to kill each other. And this has definitely turned into quite a marathon of a game. Hyun getting some banelings here just to defend against Marine drops, I suppose. Definitely a good decision because Thorzain's unloading there. This Marine no longer has a personal healer. He now has to share with his friends. Gonna charge in there, try to deal some damage, but that's probably gonna get cleaned up pretty darn easily. Yep, losing all the Marines, except for 2 who get away to tell the tale. And Thorzain just kind of positioned here to defend this base up here. Good decision by him. Hyun running forward, losing a couple lings, but pulls on back, regroups. We'll see if he tries to push in there and deal some damage. Thorzain making another command center. And ooh, Hyun looks like he wants to try to pick off some reinforcements, getting that tank for free. And going on in, running away, not sure. Gonna pick away at that door a little bit. Thorzain, though, is coming back for the flank. We'll see if Hyun can bust through here, deal some damage to the production building. Thorzain in a bit of trouble, only has a couple Marines there. The army is trying to catch up, but these tanks have to be so careful. They have to siege up away from the fight. Hyun getting down some great fungals, throwing some infested Terrans. Thorzain losing tech labs, going to lose a few more production buildings, potentially. And while Hyun is going to lose this entire army, this will slow down Thorzain's production capability a little bit. He's flooding out even more Zerglings, losing a bunch of stuff. Those Marines not too happy right now. They felt they were safe in their base, but they weren't. More fungals going down, picking off even more Marines. So tanks are in a good spot, though, and they're cleaning up all the Ultras. A handful of infested Terrans popping out, but they're not going to accomplish too terribly much. And these Ultras, Infestor is definitely going to die. Hyun, though, has caught sight of this expansion, ran some Zerglings up there to just keep it from landing. So, but that said, I don't know that that did too terribly much damage. He picked off 2 tech labs, and that's kind of it. He did kill some units, but as far as crippling Thorzain's production, I don't know that that did it. That said, though, Thorzain is really only on 2 mining bases right now. This one basically mined out. This one just now going to get established. A single Zergling just hanging out there, keeping the command center from landing, because this is not command and conquer. You can't run over things with other units. Oh, it was always the worst having like a brilliant, amazing infantry army, and then like 2 tanks come and just run over all of it. Which I guess is realistic, but it's so annoying. Anyway, Hyun continuing to stay on those melee units, has infestors, throwing down gases of that expansion now, so he's continuing to expand. And I feel Thorzain's in a bit of trouble now. He does not have a very large standing army. He does have these tanks here, but they're awfully exposed. I feel we should move that up onto that cliff if he doesn't want them to die. And just kind of has like handfuls of units everywhere that could get picked off if Hyun picks up on it. And yeah, there go those tanks for free, basically. And Hyun gonna punch up into here again. I think this might be curtains for Thorzain. He does not have much of anything to deal with this. Trying to pull all these tanks back now. But Hyun's gonna have a lot of time to just deal damage. And there's the GG. So, well played by both players. Definitely well played by Hyun, coming back from a bit of an early deficit economically to just deny bases very nicely and slowly get ahead and outspoon the Spoon Terran. Now, this was the first game of 3, so there's going to be 2 more games between these guys because, again, this was from the Go4 SC2 194. So, yeah, check out my next video, and I will see you guys later.